You're still live on the Joy News channel on Multi TV, and my name is Patricia Gasu. This is Reporters Blog. After this break, I'll be talking to my colleague Emefa Ewenam Atiamwa Eli. Please stay. Welcome back. I believe you've watched the documentary on the complex spine, and the lady behind this story, the lady who did this particular documentary, is here with me in studio. If you didn't watch, let's take a bit of it. I'll be right back.
Patients from all walks of life are assured of a first-class world service. The challenge, however, is maintaining and sustaining this life-saving project. Today, Jemima Quartey finds herself at this facility and she's ready for surgery.
Right. You don't like your head? So are these things okay now?
This one's nice. You become a princess.
Alright, Jemima, how are you? I saw you dance. Now, she's a good dancer, you know that?
Yes, I saw the video.
Yeah, you should have seen her dancing. I have a video of her dancing with her halo. Anyway, so I'm going to look at your back, okay? Can you sit up for me?
Come on, good girl.
Yeah. There we go. So I think she got good correction in the traction, but it's still a significant deformity, you know. Can you stand up for me? Good. Okay. Let's see. All right. So she did get some correction there, but it's still quite severe. So because of her age, we cannot do a final operation, which is we call the final fusion. We're going to have to stretch her slowly. So we're going to do what we call the growing rod, put in an instrumentation system that will allow us to stretch it over time, every 6 months to a year. And she will need this done until she's about 10, 11, before she can have a final operation. So all your retirees, be ready. Okay, Jemima, very good. So we're going to go down and we can take her in now.
Yes.
She has an idea?
No, I'll put it in inside, yes.
Okay. The labs, everything all right?
Everything's fine.
Okay, let me see her.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
Jemima's surgery is expected to last 4 hours.
Are you here with us?
Jemima is not totally informed as to the kind of environment this place is. Neither does she know the operation she will be undergoing. But according to the chief anesthetist, she was told the previous day that her back will be cut to straighten her up, and she was very happy. Whatever the nature of the cutting and straightening are, Jemima is certainly unaware. Being surrounded by all these gadgets and medical officers is certainly not a moment to laugh at. A little jazz at the background is just perfect to create the mood for Prof and his team. The curve at her back prior to the surgery was at 98%. Prof expects this figure to reduce to 70 at least at the end of today's surgery.
Be careful with everything here. Okay? So this is why she started. 128 degrees scoliosis. That's a lot of curve. And for her age and this curve, the natural history is if you leave her alone, if she's supposed to live to say age 80, she probably live to 20. Yeah. it will reduce her life expectancy significantly. Any patient who has scoliosis under age 10, they don't live their full life. If they develop scoliosis as teenagers, they live about maybe 75% of their full life capacity. Adolescents do okay, adults do better, but early onset like her, come back in another 5 years, she won't be able to breathe. And then gradually she will just succumb to it and she die. The problem really is the lungs developing. With this curve, the lungs won't develop normally.
Okay.
That's what kills them. So if we can keep her slowly lengthening her 80, I think today we're going to, by the time we're done, we'll come to like 60 or so.
After you have put in the rod?
Yes, right.
Okay.
And then every 6 months we make a small incision and we lengthen it.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll do that until she's about 10, 11. Then we'll do a final fusion. And then she'll have a normal lifespan.
Okay.
It's pretty straight here. So she's actually gained a lot of height between this and that.
Okay.
Yeah, she's gained a lot of height.
That's interesting to see. 183 millimeters, 18 centimeters, and 274. So she's getting a lot of height already. Okay. And you can see her chest is more aligned compared to this where she's really lopsided and twisted. Prof is leading the surgery on Jemima. Before that, all protective gears must be worn to fit. There must be no loose ends or close touch with any other personnel or gadget before touching the patient. The theater is set. Lights on, operating tools and equipment neatly and orderly arranged, and Prof's dream team poised for action. All essentials checked and a prayer kickstarts Jemima's surgery.
The x-rays are displayed on the telescope and then passed through the screen.
We're doing a PSF limited growing rods T2L34 weighing 475.
Surgery begins and doctor's dream team is busy at what it does best. Professor Ohiniba Boacheje believes Jemima would have died by age 10 if she had not done the surgery. Thanks to the benevolence of Joy News' cherished viewers. For years, Prof and his team have done this tirelessly to change destinies. Though there were moments of disappointment, the team never gives up.
So we have all the screws in, and we're going to put, we have 2 rods on top and 2 rods to be in the middle. We're going to use that to get the spine corrected and then stretched. Okay? So these are 2 top rods. And then the 2 bottom rods will be going in next. So we only see the spine, the top and the bottom. As I said, the top and the bottom will be like spot welded. Everything in the middle is going to move.
There are times when surgery lasts a whole day depending on the complexity of the case. In Jemima's case, the major task here is to insert a growing rod at her back. The rod will be fixed along her spinal cord to enable the spine grow in the direction of the rod, which will gradually straighten the curved spine. After 3.5 hours, Jemima is finally out of the theater. It was a great success and a relief to both medical team and the crew covering the surgery. She will need a couple of hours to come out of the anesthesia. Prof tells us she fared wonderfully.
So this was, that was her.
The original.
Yes, before his surgery. Okay. This is it now. And this is even after taking down some of the correction. So you compare these two. Okay. And let me see. This is 1, 2. Whoa, it's 58.
Whoa, that's way down.
Much better. Yeah.
So gradually it will shift into that space.
No, this whole part of the spine is not fused. It's moving. So this is going to grow. She's going to grow, and these things are going to lengthen.
Okay.
These are connectors.
Okay.
So these connectors, sometimes I leave and let them lengthen by themselves, but it won't work in her case because it's too severe.
It expands, it stretches.
So, no, but I have to do it actively, which means that every 6 months I make a small incision here, and I will disengage these things. They are together like this. I push them apart.
Oh, okay. To stretch it.
Yeah, right. So I left about 3 centimeters. The natural growth is about 1.5 centimeters a year. So if every 6 months, if I can stretch it by 1 centimeter.
My interest is that curve here.
This one.
How do we? Yes. How are we eventually getting it straightening?
Well, that's when you have the final fusion.
Okay.
Yeah. Until
so for now we still have that curve.
Yeah, there's still. This is not there. It's now that.
Okay.
You see the curve here? It's very small now.
Yeah, it's small.
Yeah, it's a very small curve. Even when you do a final fusion, you never get rid of it completely. It's very difficult to get rid of a curve completely unless someone comes to you early, like they say, teenager, 50, 60 degree curve, then you can really straighten it up. But in her case, it's impossible. But at the end, it's going to be under 50 or 40, which is good. If she reaches age 10, 11 with a curve under 60, she'll have a very good result. Yeah, she'll have a very good correction, because everything in between the second thoracic and the fourth lumbar is not fused. But every 6 months she'll have to come for adjustment, lengthening. So anesthesia also went quite well, I presume.
Yes, we were fine.
Yeah, that's where Dr. Wolf comes in. Tell us about Jemima. You have observed her from day one.
When she came, she was her deformity is quite severe, and she seemed to have a few features that made her a bit different from other children regarding her speech and her mental status and all that. But the stretching helped a lot. It made her breathe a lot better. If we hadn't done that, she would have ended up on the machine at the end of the operation, probably for 24 to 48 hours before we can take her tube out, because she can't breathe properly. But now we have finished and she's breathing on her own. We haven't taken the tube out yet, but she's making very good volumes. I'm very happy with her progress. Her pressure dropped a bit during the operation, and I thought that was responsible for their for the loss of potentials, but it turned out it was not. It was the stretching that they had done. So all in all, it has gone very well. We are very excited about how well she is doing, and by God's grace we are home and dry on the first procedure, but there's a lot more to come, and we hope that they will go just as well, and we give her a whole new lease on life.
It's time for her father to hear the outcome. Prof invites him over to break the news to him.
This is how it went. We put in the 4 rods and the connections. These are the connectors that we will use to lengthen as she grows. So every 6 months we make a small open incision, and then we'll stretch her through these. So it's fixed to the top and it's fixed at the bottom. Everything in between is not fused. The spine will move and grow.
You can see she's gone from like
She's from 130 degrees to about 58.
It's all
And it will stay that way. We're going to chase it every 6 months so it doesn't revert to that.
Mr. Emmanuel Quartey sighed the thank you expression to both hospital staff and news team.
I'm really thankful to them, and may God bless them. God bless them. That is all that I can say. I'm really overwhelmed. I didn't know from the onset we could come that far. But with the sponsors and everybody out there who, donated towards the surgery, the first procedure, go out to them for. I want to thank them for everything.
Thank you.
And the Joy team, the role they played.
For those foreigners who have completed their surgeries, this guest house comes in handy for their continued stay in the country until their travel arrangements are completed for them to leave for their respective countries. It is also a means to speed up their recovery process out of the hospital environment. Fortunately for Jemima, she has been discharged a week later and united with her family once more after 3 months of separation. After a major case such as Jemima's, Prof then does his last checks on the status of his cases for the next day, meetings and possible trips, and it's a day for him at Focus.
Welcome back. Emefa, good to have your reporter's blog.
Thank you very much.
What has been your
Patricia.
most challenging moment recording this particular thing, like putting together this documentary?
Okay, so this kind of documentary is not the everyday hard edited kind. This kind has to follow a pattern where the videos you put together tell the stories by themselves. We call it reportage.
Yeah.
And every scene you see on the TV is pre-produced. In other words, you have to discuss, plan with crew, the interviewee, the sound man, the cameraman.
Okay.
And if your subject in question, in this particular instance, the Professor Oheneba Boakye was my protagonist or my main character. So if he's going to be relating to any other person in the story, that person too needs to be told about the recording and has to be somewhere around him so that you have that natural flow of activity. It wouldn't be cut from somewhere and then joined, and then you can't really tell when this happened and when did this come about. So if you start watching the documentary right from start, you realize that just as you watch in your everyday movie, the videos by themselves, even if I haven't had to do any voiceover, you would understand what the story is. I think it's challenging, especially if it's the first time you are involving a character who doesn't know much about the kind of documentary you are doing. You would have to really scold them, and you want them to come as natural as possible. Everything they are doing has to be spontaneous. So in the case of Professor Oheneba Boakye, who is supposed to be working on Jemima Quartey, that is actually his everyday life in that spine hospital. The scenes you saw at the theater were not acted. It was the actual surgery on Jemima, and you ask yourself, at what point in time would I want to talk to him and record that bit?
You guys agreed on something?
Yes,
like,
yes. So
you can interrupt me at this time?
Yes, so all of that were agreed on. And sometimes it can be, how would I say, worrying to the character. In this case, because he's in the middle of a live operation, okay, and then at any point in time you ask him to pause because I need to talk to you. You need to give me a response to this question. So then he will talk. He will wait and then explain what he is doing.
Wow.
You understand? So essentially, though, let me say, whether I like it or not, it was going to delay the actual hours meant for the operation, because we would have to come in there, and there were certain points in time when we couldn't even wait through the surgery because it was 3 hours. You can imagine if I were to be recording 3 hours of operation, he having to cut Jemima, insert the rod and sew. It was a very long time. So I had to tell myself, we had to agree that at this point I was going to come back to the theater and then we record this bit. At this point, I'll be off. So as and when you are ready to do the parts I am interested in, draw
someone to call you.
And we're sitting, we're in the theater, in the theater vicinity, but not in the same room where the operation was going on. So I'll be there, then one of the team members will run and come and call us, and it's like, we are waiting for you, come, we want to do this. And like I said, all of this has to be discussed.
Wow.
You have to discuss and agree that this is the time. So during the surgery, we had to go in and we had to go out and come in like 4 times before we were done with what we wanted to record. And I think I think that's the challenging moment in doing this recording. And when you don't get it right, you would have to do it again because you want it to be natural. Yeah. You don't want him to act it. You don't want to, okay, if you didn't, how would it? No, do it the way you do it. Do it if I was, how I want to see it the way it will go if I were not to be here. So then you would have to wait for us to get it the way it is always done. And mind you, the viewers to the channel, there are people who are also surgeons, doctors, who do these things every day. So if you should go and put anything on the TV, which doesn't suggest the correct thing, which is always done.
I'm just picturing the whole thing in your mind.
Yeah. At certain points, even though I was allowed to be in there, there were points that I had to beg them to let me step out.
Were you scared?
I couldn't enjoy the process.
Time,
yes, that's actually my first time of witnessing a live surgery.
Okay.
Yeah, and having developed that closeness to Jemima over the period, and I was trusting God so much for a successful surgery for her. When the time came, I'm human. I got gripped with fear. Yes, and was also anxious to know the outcome. So when we went to the theater, there were scenes that I couldn't stand. So I had to tell the Professor Oheneba Boacheji that this is a situation. I don't think I can stay through this.
What of your cameraman?
They managed. They also they also
need the visuals.
Yes. At a point, I think the cameraman started having a stomach upset. He claims it was bad. You could see that it was the feeling. It was if you see what they do there and you look at yourself.
Scary?
I wouldn't say it's scary, but I think it's for lack of a better word, I say it grips you with the fear.
Your face, let's say your face with reality, because she could just go off at any time.
Yeah, essentially that was the main thing. And but I need to confess that when the surgery started, I think an hour later, I started calming down, like I was at ease, because I felt that I had confidence in the team. Looking at the way they were going about the operation, you realize that this is something they have done for so many years, and it's a profession. They do it, and there was no instance where they showed a sign of uncertainty. You understand what tool to pick, what to do, where to cut. So I got relaxed, and from then onwards I started having confidence that we'll make it, Jemima will make it. And then eventually, after the 3 hours elapsed, and then I came out and they brought her out, I was like, oh God, thank you. I was so happy, honestly, I was happy. And all this while, the father was also sitting under a shed on the hospital compound. Not really, but you could see, you feel in his spirit he was praying. And likewise, the crew covering the surgery too were also supporting him. But he was anxious. Anytime I came out, he wanted to know how things were finding out. And I go like, oh, sorry, but I can't tell you. Let's wait. I'm not the right person to do that. Let the doctor come and do that. So eventually, when the news had to be broken to him, you could see it. I think he knew the outcome, because when we came out first before the team of surgeons also came out. So when he saw the expression on our face and everything, I believe he was also happy. He got the impression that everything. So I gave him a big hug. We hugged, and I told him that, well, as a journalist, I think it's been successful so far, and I'm happy. But the rest I can't say. But the doctor will come and do that later. And the doctor did that in the documentary. I captured all of that. It was very natural. It was at that time that the doctor was seated, and I was having another session of interview with him when he asked, where is the father? And then somebody said, oh, he's here. So, okay, look, so call him. All of that was in the document. It was very natural. We didn't have to act it. And then he walked into shot. And then Prof goes ahead to explain to him what went on and then the outcome. And everybody has been happy since.
It looks like she has to go through another surgery.
Yes, actually, this is the first step and is the major one, and that's why we are happy. She's 6 now. She's 6 now, and she'll be undergoing surgery for the next 5 years. So until she's 11, before we would say that she's done. Currently, after every 6 months, after this surgery, so in the next 6 months, she would go back, and then they will make a little incision to lengthen the rod that has been put at her back. That will enable the spine to grow. Trust me for that. That's the little I've gathered doing this documentary. It's been very insightful, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the money.
94,000
other people had to do mobile money. Other people had to donate straight to the hospital. Did it in any way conflict with your personal monies or whatever?
No, not at all. Not at all, because we advertised a company account into which
I think your number 2 was out there.
Yes, that was at the initial stage. So later on, we had to how would I say, synchronize everything with the company's accounts. We actually had a company mobile money account as well. So later, anybody who called me, I will direct the person to that account, and then
let's go to that one. The calls.
Yeah, it's, well, they were coming. Actually, there were lots of them, tens and tens of them, and as much as possible,
days that
there were strange calls.
Yeah.
Yes, there were days that I was not in the office. I was outside the office, and they would call. As much as possible, you want to be appear very nice and warm to the person, because you don't know who you are talking to. So they call. I go like, okay, you don't even want to. They are not even interested in where you are at the moment. It's all about, I need to donate to Jemima, so how can I do it? So that has been the line of discussion. So this is me. I don't even have to tell them where I am, because for them that doesn't matter. So often when I'm not in the office, I'm outside of the office, and I get a call like that, I take the details of whatever they want to do, and then I would call a colleague in the office that this is the situation. Maybe the person is passing by, kindly meet the person and take and explain to the person that I'm not currently in the office, but I've given you. So if the person arrives in the office, I'll let them call me. I'll let the office people call me, to talk to the person that, oh, I was the one who directed A and B to take the money from you, and that it will still reach me, and then I'll forward it to the company. But some also went on their own accord and then went to donate the money into the company account. So they will only call to inform me that they've gone to make this much donation to the account. Sometimes to the mobile money, I get text message. Somebody would text me, oh, I've donated this much to this account, so check it if it's there. So I'll check. If it's there, then I'll call them back and tell them that, oh, we got it, and then I'll thank them.
So what's going to be the next documentary? Still on Jemima?
No.
Or did you stay agreed to join me so they get to know it?
Yeah, now there are more in the pipeline, so I'm working on them. When they are ready, I'll let you know.
Thank you so much for your time on Reporters Block.
Thank you too.
Nice having you.
Thank you too. Thank you.
And that was my colleague Emefa Ewenam Atiamwa earlier. I always have to take my time when I have to pronounce all these names. My name is Patricia. Guess to enjoy the rest of our shows.